finish on my hair!
One desert moon. One flying Winnebago. One helmet too big for the man underneath it. In 1987, Spaceballs arrived as a joke pointed at the biggest galaxy in movie history. It had laser swords, princesses, dark lords, robots, prophecies, space battles, and one word that somehow became funnier than the Force. The Schwartz. It looked ridiculous. That was the trick. Underneath the parody, Spaceballs was really about something Mel Brooks understood better than almost anyone. How fame turns everything into merchandise. How heroes become brands, and how even the dumbest joke can outlive the people who made it. The movie was not a giant hit at first. It became something stranger. A cult memory. A VH favorite. A film people quoted for decades until the joke became part of their childhood. But after the laughter faded, the cast carried very different stories. One comedy giant lived long enough to bring the galaxy back nearly 40 years later. One beloved actor died at 43 while making another movie. One villain walked away from Hollywood to raise his children after losing his wife. One princess became a television icon. One robot had two women behind her, and both left very different shadows. This is Spaceballs, then and now. Mel Brooks was President Scroob and Yogurt. Mel Brooks was born on June 28, 1926, in Brooklyn, New York. By the time Spaceballs came out, he had already changed comedy forever. The producers. Blazing Saddles. Young Frankenstein. The man did not just make parody, he built a language for it. He was 60 when he directed, co-wrote, produced, and starred in Spaceballs. President Scroob was power without intelligence. Yogurt was wisdom without seriousness. Together, they were Brooks at his purest, the fool and the master, both laughing at the same system. And here is the detail that makes the whole movie sharper. Brooks made a Star Wars parody, but he agreed not to make action figures because they might look too close to the real ones. So he turned that limitation into one of the film's greatest jokes. Merchandising. The joke was not just funny, it was prophecy. Today in 2026, Mel Brooks is 99 and Spaceballs is coming back with him. The man who mocked sequels, franchises, and merchandise lived long enough to become part of the very machine he once laughed at. Rick Moranis was Dark Helmet. Rick Moranis was born on April 18, 1953 in Toronto, Canada. He was 34 when he became Dark Helmet, the shortest, angriest, most insecure version of evil the galaxy had ever seen. Dark Helmet was Darth Vader if the mask had swallowed the mask. That was why it worked. Moranis did not play him as a villain. He played him as a child trapped inside power, furious that no one feared him enough. After Spaceballs, Moranis became one of the most recognizable comic actors in Hollywood. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Ghostbusters. Little Shop of Horrors. Parenthood. Then real life changed everything. In 1991, his wife Ann Belsky died from breast cancer. Moranis gradually stepped away from live-action films to raise their children. Hollywood called it a disappearance. It was not a disappearance. It was a father choosing home over applause. Today in 2026, Rick Moranis is 73 and he is returning as Dark Helmet for the new Spaceballs sequel. The man who played a villain hiding under a helmet became beloved for removing himself from fame when his children needed him most. John Candy was Barf. John Candy was born on October 31, 1950, in Toronto. He was 36 when he became Barf, the half-man, half-dog sidekick who called himself his own best friend. Barf should have been impossible. A man in ears and a tail. A joke on Chewbacca. A walking costume gag. But John Candy had something makeup could not hide. Warmth. He made Barf loyal, sweet, clumsy, brave, and completely human. The character was called a Maw, but Candy played him like the friend everyone wished they had. After Spaceballs, he remained one of comedy's most loved faces, Uncle Buck. Planes, trains, and automobiles. The great outdoors, cool runnings. Then, on March 4, 1994, John Candy died of a heart attack in Durango, Mexico while filming Wagons East. He was 43. 43. That is the number that still feels wrong. Barf was the joke about a man who was half dog. John Candy was the proof that comedy can carry more heart than most serious actors ever touch. Bill Pullman was Lone Star. Bill Pullman was born on December 17, 1953, in Hornell, New York. Before film fame, he taught theater. Then, movies found him. He was 33 when he became Lone Star, the hero with a Winnebago instead of a spaceship and more debt than destiny. Lone Star was Luke Skywalker and Han Solo folded into one man who looked like he had no idea which legend he was supposed to become. That was the charm. Pullman played him straight enough to make the stupidity work. He was handsome, sincere, slightly confused, and somehow believable as the hero of a galaxy built from jokes. After Spaceballs, he became a serious leading man. While you were sleeping. Lost Highway, Independence Day. The president who told Earth not to go quietly. Today in 2026, Bill Pullman is 72, and he is set to return to Spaceballs with his own son, Lewis Pullman, joining the new film. Lone Star searched for royal blood. Bill Pullman found a stranger legacy, a parody role that now returns with his real family attached to it. Daphne Zuniga was Princess Vespa. Daphne Zuniga was born on October 28, 1962, in San Francisco. She was 24 when she became Princess Vespa, the spoiled runaway bride from planet Druidia. Vespa was not helpless. That was the joke. She looked like the princess being rescued, but she had luggage, opinions, and a better sense of her own worth than most people around her. Zuniga gave her sharpness. She made Vespa silly without making her stupid. After Spaceballs, she became even more famous on Melrose Place as Joe Reynolds, moving from space parody into 1990s television drama. Today in 2026, Daphne Zuniga is 63, and she is also returning for the Spaceballs sequel. Princess Vespa ran from an arranged marriage. Daphne Zuniga outlasted the joke and returned as the queen of her own memory. Joan Rivers was the voice of Dot Matrix. Joan Rivers was born on June 8, 1933, in Brooklyn. By Spaceballs, she was already one of the sharpest voices in comedy, so Mel Brooks made her a robot. She was 54 when she voiced Dot Matrix, Princess Vespa's droid of honor, moral warning system, and metallic babysitter. Dot Matrix was not built for subtlety. Neither was Joan. Every line came with bite. Even as a machine, Rivers sounded more alive than most humans in the room. But 1987 was also the year her life broke open. Her late-night show collapsed. Her husband Edgar Rosenberg died by suicide. The woman who made millions laugh was standing inside private devastation while audiences only heard the punchlines. Joan Rivers died on September 4, 2014, after complications from a throat procedure caused brain damage from lack of oxygen. She was 81. Dot Matrix was a robot with a human voice. Joan Rivers was a human who survived by turning pain into a voice no one could silence. Laureen Yarnell was Dot Matrix's body. Laureen Yarnell was born on March 21, 1944, in Los Angeles. She was a dancer, mime, and performer, best known as half of Shields and Yarnell. In Spaceballs, Joan Rivers gave Dot Matrix the voice. Yarnell gave her the body. That is the part people forget. Inside the gold costume was a woman trained to make movement speak. The robot walked, tilted, reacted, and existed because Yarnell knew how to turn silence into performance. Laureen Yarnell died on July 29, 2010, from a brain aneurysm in Norway. She was 66. Dot Matrix had two women inside her. One was the voice. One was the motion. Together they made metal funny. Dick Van Patten was King Roland. Dick Van Patten was born on December 9, 1928 in New York City. He had already become a television father on 8 is Enough before Spaceballs made him King Roland of Druidia. He was 58 when he played the king whose planet was running out of air and whose daughter had run for marriage. Roland was royal panic in a crown. Van Patten made him gentle, confused, and strangely lovable. He was not ruling a planet. He was trying to survive a Mel Brooks joke. Dick Van Patten died on June 23, 2015, from complications of diabetes. He was 86. He played fathers and kings. But his gift was simpler than both. He made worry feel kind. Dom DeLuise was Pizza the Hut. Dom DeLuise was born on August the 9th, 1933, in Brooklyn. In Spaceballs, he did not need to show his face. He voiced Pizza the Hut, a disgusting gangster made of melted cheese, grease, and appetite. It was grotesque. It was also perfect Mel Brooks. DeLuise had a voice that made even a pile of pizza feel like a person. Dom DeLuise died on May 4, 2009, from kidney failure after battling cancer with other health problems including high blood pressure and diabetes. He was 75. Pizza the Hut was a joke about excess. Dom DeLuise made excess sound joyful, that is Spaceballs, after nearly 40 years. Mel Brooks is still here. Rick Moranis is returning. Bill Pullman and Daphne Zuniga are returning. George Weiner is returning as Colonel Sanders. But John Candy, Joan Rivers, Lorene Yurnell, Dick Van Patten, and Dom DeLuise are gone. America remembers the Schwartz, the helmet, the Winnebago, the merchandising, the line about ludicrous speed, but underneath the parody was a harder truth. Spaceballs made fun of franchises before franchises swallowed Hollywood whole. Drop a comment. Which story hit you hardest? And here is the real question. Did Spaceballs survive because it mocked Star Wars, or because Mel Brooks accidentally predicted the future of every movie ever made?